So talk about the different reasons why you argue that charter schools are simply more successful than public schools.
Well, I want to just emphasize one thing. Charter schools are public schools. First, they're open enrollment. On at KIPP, we don't screen kids. We take all students, and as I said, over 80% are from low-income families across the country. Secondly, they're free schools. There's no tuition, and they're also primarily funded by public dollars. And if you look at New York, we get about, in New York City, KIPP schools, about $17,000 per student. That's just about $655 less than a traditional student in the traditional school system. So charter schools are getting less money, but are, with the freedom they have to innovate and to be efficient in using dollars, we're getting results that exceed the average in public schools in New York. For example, in 8th grade, the KIPP math students, 94% of the KIPP New York City students were proficient or advanced in math, as opposed to 60% citywide, 78% in English language arts, compared to 43% citywide. So, again, there's that freedom for accountability. We think it's really mattering for a lot of kids in New York City and across America.
Let's go to Sam Anderson now, also formerly a university professor and a public school teacher. And one of your points is that charter schools really are little more than a move to privatize public schools run by a white corporate elite, and that they are anti-union. Take me through your concerns and criticisms of charter schools.
First and foremost, the charter school movement is a movement to privatize public education. There are pockets here and there of maybe successful charter schools in reference to how well their students take standardized exams. But on the whole, the charter school movement quality is no different or slightly better, just slightly better than public education, traditional public education schools. One of the things that has happened over the years in the development of charter schools is the structuring within primarily urban centers, primarily black and Latino communities throughout the United States. The ability for private corporations to make a deal with either a mayor or a head of a state educational system to take over a couple of schools here and there and make them into charters. The second part of this is that when we look overall, particularly in New York City, we see that the charter school movement is a divide and conquer movement in relationship to parental power and parental involvement in public education. And with a particular focus in New York City, the Mayor Bloomberg, has used over the years charter schools to be a political and ideological wedge within the black and Latino communities in New York City. You have this divide and conquer thing, to dangle the charter schools and saying that this is the best possible thing that you can have because your school is so bad. The other thing that has happened is that it has stifled innovation and creativity among the vast majority of teachers and parents within the public school systems. The alternative school movement that was growing in New York City has now been squashed. And at the same time, it allows for a school to be created that teachers don't have to be part of the union, that you don't have to be a member of the union to be a teacher within a charter school in New York City.
Steve Mancini, you've heard some of the concerns of Sam Anderson. Respond to some of the points that he raises.
Well, first, Dr. Anderson has raised some great points, and in terms of parental involvement, I can speak not for all charter schools. I can speak for the KIPP schools, and the KIPP school in the South Bronx over at East 156th Street has over 2,000 students on its waiting list, and a student body of over 90% Hispanic and African American families, and in the history of that school, over 90% of the students have gone on to college. So I think clearly there are results that many charter schools like KIPP and Achievement First and Uncommon Schools, charter models with a proven track record, are really delivering on results for families. And this is a program that not only is supported by President Obama. He has 5 initiatives that he's supporting at the federal level. And one of those is increasing the number of charter schools, and he's working to double the funding for charter schools with measurable results. But again, he wants to hold them accountable, and that's where I would agree with Professor Anderson that you need to make sure you're holding these schools accountable and that they're providing results for young people.
What I say to that is that we don't need a private corporation-based either for-profit or not-for-profit entities to come in and help create alternative, creative, innovative school systems. In the past, we've done this successfully within the public school system, and that is one of the most fundamental things about this. The KIPP Academy concept was a concept that was being developed not only in New York but elsewhere in the nation through the public school system without the intervention of corporations in involvement. The Central Park East example with Debbie Myers, there have been a number of examples. And like I said earlier, it stifles any kind of independent public school teacher-run creativity. I'll give you a concrete example in New York City. We meaning a group of black educators with over 200 years of educational experience in various levels in the public schools and in universities, came to the board or the Department of Education under Bloomberg twice to get an independent school developed, not a non-charter innovative school. They turned us down. They were a battery of inexperienced white educators, and at that time headed by the ultimate decision was a decision by a lawyer, not Klein, but another lawyer who had no educational experience. So in New York City, the charter school movement is a logical development for Bloomberg's move to privatize education and to squash any kind of independent teacher-parent-run educational procedure. They will dangle out a few places like the KIPP Academy and a couple of others and say how wonderful things are done. What we're saying also is that we have to look at the content of what is being taught. Charter schools in the state of New York are test-driven. They do not emphasize critical thinking, development, and so forth. They are test-driven. KIPP Academy, its measure of success fundamentally stems or relies on the test-driven, the high stakes.